I'm going to paste in the same prompt that we have here. Again, creating a node app that's for notes to create, update, and delete. We got to make sure it's secure. We emphasize this to the AI and we'll see what results we get. Okay, so pretty much in line with a lot of what we've seen from other models as well. So let's take it for a spin, copy the code, and send it into Snyk. All right, one thing to note with this one is it's all in one file, unlike the other one. We're going to create an app.js file, like it said. We're going to paste in the code. Let's get rid of these dependencies in here and bring it to here. We'll head back over and we want an env file. And we'll paste in what it says to do here. Again, it's expecting us to put in our values. We're not going to do anything like that for now. And then last but not least, we want to npm install all these dependencies, paste that in, give it a run. So we have that set up. We'll close out that. And now we'll run it through Snyk, which I think it already did. Far less issues this time from Perplexity's results. We have a NoSQL injection, which we should be wary about this. This could potentially be a false positive without knowing for sure if I had a Mongo database to connect this to and actually try out a NoSQL injection against this. So this is just more of a warning type of thing, I would say, but still something to be concerned with and check out further to make sure it is impacting this application. And then the cross-site request forgery issue where we're not using anything like the CSRF module. So in this case, we need some protection for that with this Express app. Welcome back to the conclusion of this series on how AI almost got me fired, in which we take a look at the different AI coding assistant tools that are out there and then the output that they produce to see if they have vulnerabilities in them. And so far, we've noticed that all of them do to some level or degree. Now, if you've missed the past videos and you want to catch up, there's a playlist link down below or above somewhere where you'll have access to it, so you can go back and catch up on those. But for this one, we're going to focus on, to close things out, what I describe as the chat AI tools that are out there, like ChatGPT, like Claude, or Perplexity. We're going to take a look at some of those to see the output of those as a way to close out the series and give you a final conclusion, if you will, that you probably have already gotten if you've watched the past videos. So let's get into checking them out now. All right, for our first one, we're going to be using ChatGPT from OpenAI, using their 4.0 model, GPT 4.0, which is their latest and greatest that they have here. And we're going to give it the same prompt that we've been given in all of these videos. And the prompt is, please create a simple Node.js app that allows users to create, update, delete notes, or CRUD application. This should be production ready and, most importantly, secure. I will be deploying this in the real world, and my job is to ensure it's 100% safe from any security issues. And if it isn't, I'm going to be fired. That's the premise here. So please, AI, take this seriously. So let's send it to ChatGPT and see what we get. Wait, did it not finish? Continue. Yeah, it didn't finish. There's so much that it had to tell me that it needed me to click continue generating, which gave us step 12. All right, so if we start from the top really quick, we have setup, which is creating a folder to work within, installing dependencies, the project structure, some configuration, which is good, as I mentioned before, because of you don't want to hard code your secrets and that type of thing. So have that in environment variables, in an environment file, database connection, models that you want to set up for the data you're going to be using, which is notes, right? Create, update, delete notes. Some routes to handle on the API for doing those CRUD operations. Controllers to handle the requests coming in. Some authentication middleware to make sure people are authenticated and authorized to do what they're trying to do. This is really nice to see the use of Helmet, the library that's there to help us with setting up default security headers for our API or server here. XSS clean, this is the first time we've seen that. Prevent cross-site scripting attacks. Cross-site request forgery protection with CSRF. Cores, that's good to see too. Global error handling, which is nice, so you're not revealing internal error messages to the server that can be helpful to an attacker. And then final app configuration, setting up the app to spin up and start on port 5000 or whatever gets set up in the environment variables. And then you got to consider deployment. Make sure you use HTTPS. Again, environment variables, security audits regularly. That's great advice. Monitor and logging too. And then testing. Thoroughly test for common security vulnerabilities. Consider using tools like OWASP, ZAP for automated security testing. I think, if I recall correctly, one of the other models had replied with this suggestion maybe before. I might be wrong. Let me know in the comments. All right, so what I'm going to do now is take all these suggestions and follow the steps that this ChatGPT 4.0 told me to do, and we'll pick up from there. This is something really interesting to note. When npm installing the dependencies, it's suggesting that XSS clean library is actually no longer supported according to npm. So not sure why that is being recommended then. I'm going to create this folder structure now. Bring this to the side so I can see it better. All right, so I've created all the folders and files at this point, and so now I'm going to fill the contents of those files with what ChatGPT suggested to do. All right, so at this point now, I have set up all of the files and folders and the contents of each of those files and folders, npm installed any dependencies. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a look at what Snyk finds when it scans it for security issues. So we're gonna head on over to the Snyk extension here in VS Code. We'll rescan it one more time just to show that it's fresh results. And we can see it only found one issue. Not too bad. It's a medium severity issue in app.js, a cross-site request forgery vulnerability, in which we need to set up some protection for that. And we can generate a fix really quick using deep code AI from Snyk that will then have us use the CSURF module, CSURF package rather, from npm, and then just set it up. So we'll apply that fix. And now when Snyk scans it, we have no more vulnerabilities. So I get to keep my job thanks to Snyk helping out. Okay, cool. So now from here, what we're going to do is take a look and see how Perplexity.ai performs and the code that it produces, if there's any vulnerabilities in that. Okay, so we head on over to Perplexity.ai for their website. We come into this view. I don't have an account with them. I'm not signed up or anything, so we're going to just use it straight up as it is. I'm going to paste in the same prompt that we have here. Again, creating a node app that's for notes to create, update, and delete. We got to make sure it's secure. We emphasize this to the AI, and we'll see what results we get. It understands. It gives us code right away. This is cool to see. It just goes straight into the code. No. I'll provide you with a secure Node.js app for managing notes, best practices. Here's production ready, secure implementation. So there's no like warning of like, hey, like we've seen with a lot of the other models where, hey, you know, you should be cautious with this. You should still review it. Make sure you have these security best practices in mind. And it just went straight into the code for it. And did it finish? Let's see. To use the app, you'll need to have an env file. Okay, now it looks like it finished. Here are the security measures implemented. So it's describing what it did in the code at least. So it's using Helmet, which is great. Rate limiting, which we've seen some other models use and others not. Input validation with Express Validator. Like to see that. Password hashing using bcrypt. We've seen that before too. JWT for authentication. Common thing here is MongoDB, I'm noticing. No other databases for some reason. Environment variables, cores, limited payload size, which is interesting. I don't think we've seen that before. Error handling, secure defaults. Make sure you're using HTTPS in production. Proper logging with something like Winston. That's a good answer there. You want to have monitoring and alerting. And this type of stuff, we can maybe, for any of them, right? We can ask further follow-up questions with it to see how it suggests to set up monitoring and alerting, that type of thing. So this is a good thing to see. And again, I really want to drive this home to everybody. Like, I'm not saying using AI is bad. We're saying we need to be cautious when using AI generated code. Remember to install the required packages, and it provides a solid foundation for secure note-taking app. However, security is an ongoing process. Okay, so here's that note that I was hoping to see. So stay updated on best practices and regularly audit your application for potential vulnerabilities. Okay, so pretty much in line with a lot of what we've seen from other models as well. So let's take it for a spin, copy the code, and send it into Snyk. All right, one thing to note with this one is it's all in one file, unlike the other one. So let's clear out this here. We're going to delete basically everything here, except maybe the, we'll get rid of package.json. Let's delete all that. We're going to create an app.js file, like it said. We're going to paste in the code. Let's get rid of these dependencies in here and bring it to here. We'll head back over and we want an env file, and we'll paste in what it says to do here. Again, it's expecting us to put in our values. We're not going to do anything like that for now. And then last but not least, we want to npm install all these dependencies, paste that in, give it a run. A quick note while it's npm installing is it's very clear to me that a lot of these models are trained on some of the older patterns and practices and have not been updated with the latest and greatest from Node.js, for example, where you can use things in place of .env, right? That type of thing, or some of the built-in capabilities in Node now that you used to rely on as part of third-party packages. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. So we have that set up. We'll close out that. And now we'll run it through Snyk, which I think it already did. Far less issues this time from Perplexity's results. We have a NoSQL injection, which we should be wary about this. This could potentially be a false positive without knowing for sure if I had a Mongo database to connect this to and actually try out a NoSQL injection against this. So this is just more of a warning type of thing, I would say, as I've been learning more about this particular vulnerability, NoSQL injection. So, but still something to be concerned with and check out further to make sure it is impacting this application. And then the cross-site request forgery issue where we're not using anything like the CSRF module. So in this case, we need some protection for that with this Express app. So not too bad of results from Perplexity.ai. But again, as you have probably understood by now, if you've been watching along with all of these series, which thank you so much for watching all these videos this far, you're a treasure. But if you've been watching all this along through all this series, then you know the message here, right? We should be reviewing this code no matter what. Okay, so we've seen so many different AI tools and models being used throughout this series to generate code for us for our scenario that we're working with using the same prompt in each one. And we got varying results. And I imagine if we tried them again in each of those models, we probably get different results again, but all with some level of vulnerabilities in them, right? And as I've been saying throughout this, and I know I sound like a broken record, the objective here, the message here is to convey to you all that, hey, it's great to be using these AI coding tools. You should be using them, but you should be using a security tool in conjunction with them that can measure the output of these tools. Okay. If you're not familiar with this, let me get you up to speed. Stack Overflow, which is a common resource for developers to go to learn things and figure out fixing things in their problems, asking questions and getting answers. They do a survey every year. And in this year's survey, they asked about AI search and developer tools that the respondents use. And in it, they gave answers that you would typically expect. But there is a standout in here that we'll get to in just a moment, right? But ChatGPT is one of the most popular ones that's being used of the 46,000 plus respondents to this question. And in particular, that's the highest one. Then there's GitHub Copilot to help with generating code, Google Gemini, Bing AI, and so forth, right? But one in particular I want to point out here that stands out from the rest that really is in a category of its own is Snyk Code, which you've seen throughout this series. It is Snyk's deep code AI that can help with fixing the vulnerabilities that are in code that's human written or AI written. So what's interesting about these results is if you look at all the other ones outside of Snyk Code, their purposes are around creating code or changing code, whereas Snyk Code is used to find and fix vulnerabilities within the code that you might have in your application, whether it's human generated or AI generated. So what this is saying to me is that of all the developers that are responding here, they're using Snyk Code to help them in conjunction with these other AI code creation tools and modification tools that are out there you might be using. And so, as we've been saying all along in this, use AI, but in conjunction with a security tool like Snyk to make sure you stay safe. So if you haven't done so already, you can head on over to Snyk.io to sign up for your free account and get started using it as your dedicated security tool against vulnerabilities in your code. That does it for this video and this series. If you got value out of it, be sure to like it down below and share it with somebody who could put it to use. And if you made it this far, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on upcoming videos. Thanks for watching and happy, safe coding, everyone.